Here we are. Tisha, I'm outside the Rangate building. I think the lab's in loading bay 7. Can you open it?
Sure can. So the lab's in the building. I'm on my way.
Thanks. I'm going in. See you soon. Your bog standard welcoming committee? Triple locked. Someone was being extra cautious. Triple locked. Someone was being extra cautious. Triple locked. Someone was being extra cautious. Okay, this is it. Oh, now this is impressive. That must be Noah. Fried Noah. Whatever they were trying, it killed him. Wait, I stuck my arm in one of these at the CDC.
The code for this blood drive is catabasis. K-A-T-A-B-A-S-I-S. Enjoy.
Another blood drive, like the one on the pier. Well, this all looks splendidly sinister. Not Wakanda. Waste of fucking time. Only one person I need to talk to. Doc Reeves. He's my only... Oh. You must be Noah. Nah, bruv. I don't need a pet. You have to stay here. Don't give me those puppy dog eyes. Uh-oh. Wait. I am not taking you home. See? Well, this all looks splendidly sinister.
Scout, shut up.
Please. Not this.
Just stay trusting.
Tisha.
Dawn, I'm here. Check the blood drive. Goodness, Tisha. Oh, that Krav Maga really paid off. Come on. I know you. Hello again.
I ate someone, and now I'm shiny?
Kind of freaky, huh? You hit rock bottom, and you bounced hard. You're gonna feel that one for a while.
You're living for the drama, I see. Lola, we got others to cover.
I know. I know. The rebirth is never easy. We all needed help through this one. We are rare. Precious.
What's inside me? What am I?
We are. Well, Reuben calls us Newman. We are the endpoint. Humanity distilled. I'm sorry. I had to push you hard. There is some cataclysm level shit coming down the line. It won't wait. And it's not kind. Only Newman, like us, can carry humanity through it.
But the plague. Doc Reeves is gonna find a cure and kill it. Right?
There is no plague. Reuben. He was a good man once. But now he is blinded by desperation. He's not making a cure.
No, hold on.
He's not making a cure because he can't. No one can. Humans. The autophage. Newman. It's an immense life cycle. A survival mechanism spanning countless eons. And we are the Omega Point.
This isn't my story. I'm getting out of here. Out of LA.
Well, you are in deep denial. And you've had my 2 cents, so go and ask Reuben.
Brother, man. Baller. Alright.
Mother's got a super bad headache. Still, her door shut, she's trying to sleep.
Okay. Okay.
His. But whatever conclusion you come to, remember.
Hey, Liam. Hey, don't take forever. Like, turn the fan on. Get it, get clean, get out. Because I need one so it's in. Let's go, Liam. Hurry up. Liam, get out. I want you to hurry up. That's what I want. Not a hot water.
The new formulation comes from an essay on conscious uncoupling written by Paltrow's spiritual advisors, Dr. Habib Sadeghi and Dr. Sherry Sami. Although it looks like everything is coming apart, it actually is all coming back together, they conclude. The Oxford English Dictionary is a citation of the use of uncoupling to describe the end of relationships from 1942. Divorce lawyer Sarah Thompson of Slater and Gordon says uncoupling reminds her of two railway carriages being separated. The addition of the word conscious is there to tell people it's amicable. She says that she wouldn't be surprised if Paltrow and Martin used collaborative law, both parties sitting down at a table with a lawyer each and going through everything. It's often described as the nicest way to get divorced. When, as in the Paltrow-Martin case, there are children involved, it's a good idea to use age-appropriate language, says Denise Knowles, the counselor Relate. That's almost all too on the nose, how they directly compare divorce to two railway carriages being separated. It's hard to think of a more dehumanizing comparison. It's also not accurate, because in marriage, two become one. That's sort of the whole point. So a divorce is not separating train cars, but rather taking one train car with passengers inside and ripping it in half. Or better yet, divorce is derailing the entire train only for the conductors to stand amid the smoking wreckage and mangled bodies and declare the scene is actually quite life-affirming. And then Frankie Muniz shows up and starts dancing over top the corpses. I mean, that's basically what's going on if we want to use railway analogies. If there's any upside to the trends that we're seeing, it's that divorce rates have been declining for some time now. Marriages are more likely to last at the moment as compared to the turn of the century. And that's a welcome and surprising development given the way social media creates social contagions and the way that every powerful institution and many powerful people have tried desperately at every turn to promote and encourage divorce. At the same time, while divorce becomes less popular, so does marriage itself. As Forbes reports, quote, both the marriage and divorce rates have declined over time. In 2000, a total of 944,000 divorces and annulments occurred. The divorce rate was 4 per 1,000 population during that year. By 2022, it had fallen to 2.4 per 1,000, with just 673,989 people divorcing that year. The marriage rate has declined too, dropping from 8.2 per 1,000 in 2000 to 6.2 per 1,000 in 2021. So while the declining divorce rate suggests that the constant pro-divorce propaganda has failed, the declining marriage rate suggests that the propaganda has actually succeeded even beyond the wildest dreams of the propagandists. I mean, after all, the only thing more empowering than dissolving a marriage is never having one to dissolve to begin with. And there's a reason that the cultural powers that be want to create a society like that. They want weak families and abandoned children because weak families and abandoned children are infinitely easier to indoctrinate and control. The same kind of people who would post memes to celebrate a political assassination will make a dance video to celebrate a divorce. I mean, it's the same idea. Celebrating destruction. And it festers when we lose our ability or our will to identify evil when we see it. And tearing a family apart is evil. No amount of dancing will change that. We all know it. In spite of the dancing and the divorce celebrations. In fact, the celebrations only serve to underline the evil. They reveal precisely the truth that they're meant to cover up. You don't go out of your way to convince the world you're happy with your decisions if you actually are happy with them. Frankie Muniz and Emily Ratajkowski and all the rest.
Where's the baseball?
Rest of them protest too much. They are miserable and inviting every married couple to dissolve their marriage and join them in their misery. And that is one invitation that should be easy to decline. That will do it for the show today. And actually, for the next 2 weeks, I'll be going on vacation for a couple of weeks, as is my tradition at this part of July and first part of July. Be back in a couple weeks. We'll have a lot of new content for you in the meantime, though, so stay tuned for that. And talk to you on the other side. Godspeed.
We have a terror warning in Northern Virginia. Radical Islam has designs openly on the west.
The FBI thwarted a terror plot on New Year's Eve. Violent attack over the Halloween weekend in Michigan.
Protests on college campuses showing no signs of stopping.
Well, folks, as you can see, I'm recording from home today. My voice is basically gone, but I wanted to sign into chat because I'm getting a lot of questions today, a lot of texts, a lot of disturbed phone calls about Tucker Carlson's announcement. That he wants to start a third party. And I just want to point out that there are, in fact, as we approach the 250th anniversary of the founding of our country, there are, in fact, two forces that wish to wreck America, stern to stem, that seek to destroy the DSA left and the woke right, and they are coming together. I'll explain in just a moment. This is The Ben Shapiro Show. So here's where we are as we close in on our 250th anniversary as a country. The things that matter most to the United States, to Americans, are under assault. Core principles, things like freedom of speech, freedom of religion, and private property. These things are under assault. The very idea of America being an amazing place, a place that is good and great. The idea of American peace through strength. All of these things are currently under assault. On the left, of course, the DSA, the Democrat Socialists of America, are eating the Democratic Party wholesale. These are not kind of normal Democrats who are just worried about tax rates or entitlement programs. They truly despise the country, and they are full-scale socialists. There was Zohran Mamdani just yesterday talking about the magic of Marxist economics.
And we raise taxes on the wealthiest New Yorkers, instead of taking more from those with the least. Throughout this process, I've been reminded of the words of the Austrian
Mom, I'm in deep. If you can pull any
Socialists
babies up
understood
there, I need
economics.
them.
They wouldn't be socialists. These past months have shown us anything. It is that socialists not only understand economics, just as well as the capitalists who came before, but that we can solve their years of mismanagement for an embrace of our principles.
And of course,
You and me
Zohran
need a little
Mamdani,
quality
he
time.
loves the idea of
Come in, Reed.
collective work, warmth of collective work, so much so, by the way, he is now calling on people to set their bodies down at 78 degrees in New York City. You know, we've got to turn this place into Paris as fast as humanly possible. The smell of trash is wafted through the city streets.
And to every business owner, please set your thermostats to 78 degrees to alleviate the stress on our health. Every worker in New York City has the right to a safe workplace. That includes safety in extreme heat.
But here's the thing, this whole discussion about the DSA And what they've been doing in big cities, and now Colorado and all the rest, it's not just fun and games. It actually has consequences. The Democratic Party is, in fact, on the verge of taking over not just the House and the midterm election, but most of the Senate. So, Green Politics has a rundown on the polling averages in the crucial Senate races. These are all seats that are currently held by Republicans that could go to Democrats. In North Carolina, Democrats are up. In Ohio, dead heat. In Maine, Brett Blattner, the Nazi tattoo guy, versus Susan Collins, dead heat. In Texas, James Talarico, Sunday school howdy doody with the LGBTQ flag. That dude is in a dead heat with Ken Paxton. In Iowa, dead heat. In Alaska, dead heat. That's 6 seats. If Democrats were to win 4, they would take control of the Senate. If they win 6, they're at 53 seats. Nate Silver, the statistician, he says that there's about an 80 to 90% shot Democrats take the House, and there's a 4% shot they take the Senate. And remember, increasingly, these are not establishment Democrats. These are not John Fetterman moderate Democrats. These are Democrats who are enthralled to the DSA. They understand which way the winds are blowing, and they're moving in the direction of those winds. So, what would happen if the Democrats win? Again, we should keep this in mind, because this is the backdrop to Tucker Carlson announcing that he wants to start a third party, which, by the way, is nonsense. I'll explain that he's lying in a second. But
Ruben and Tisha
what
just
would happen if
flew out of
Democrats
here.
were to win? You need to understand the stakes, to understand the game.
Damn
Tucker is
thing.
playing, which is a very
Jimmy's
dangerous
trying to
game.
figure it out.
Well, first off, judicial nominees. So,
Don't let anybody
Justice
in.
Clarence Thomas. You may have noticed the
What's
Supreme Court's
happening,
pretty
Jimmy?
important, right? Pretty straight.
I know what you did.
Deep breaths, fella.
It's all in there. Ruben, Shatton, whatever the fuck that is, and your name. Over and over. You all started the outbreak.
You're wrong.
You're fucking psycho!
Me? He said my blood was the cure. Bruv, I'm not your enemy. I just wanted out of this LA, like all of us.
He killed my city. Should have put a bullet in him.
No! Jimmy, sit down. How are we gonna know where he's gone?
I know where he's gone. He's flown to some lab on Hollywood Boulevard.
Jimmy!
What?
Everyone's freaking out. We need you out here.
All right. In a minute. What should I tell him?
Jimmy, you've captivated audiences through 9 seasons of lowbrow detective TV.
Yeah. I'm June Montana. 9 seasons on the badge. 9 fucking seasons! Hey! Shut your holes, bitches! Jimmy Montana's in charge now!
Right. Change of plan. Escape is everything. Emma Jones. Emma, it's Jacob. You copy?
Hello? Did your doctor get you out?
No, is the short and depressing answer. New plan. I know where there's a helicopter. And I know a pilot. Huge fan of your work. You need to persuade him to fly us.
Persuade him to... Hey, if you think I'm gonna fuck some creep so you can fly out of here...
Is that a fair assessment of our relationship? You just need to talk a nice, agoraphobic hermit into flying us out of LA.
Oh, that's splendid. We'd have more chance on a magic carpet.
I bet they're already recasting Godspider. You are tragically missing, after all.
Bet they are, the wankers. Okay, I'll meet him. But no promises.
The sewer outfall, near your house. Bring Sam. Prepare for trouble.
Oh,
We need food, Jimmy. Tisha and that gang.
him stop! Make him stop! No! No, no, no!
You've been gone all last night and all today. I've been worried sick. What if a zombie got you? Who'd have told?
Emma, I'm just a regular guy. Hey, everybody! I'm back. Andrea! I'm not dead, and you're not dead.
Welcome. Good to see you alive.
Emma keeping you busy?
No, I burnt my mob. It was that to shove it up a certain culo.
Power to the few surviving people, comrade.
I must confess, I raised my hand to Emma and Sam. Not something they'll forget in a hurry.
Did you catch it on camera? I'll pay.
Ah, Emma was such a lovely girl once. Fame has not been kind to her. But perhaps something good can come from all this horror.
A good dose of pant-bursting horror usually does the trick.
Yes, maybe. I just think perhaps with Sam, she can start again.
Everyone deserves a second chance, even Sam.
Miracles happen. She gave me this house, you know.
Congratulations. But don't you want to leave with us?
We will be safe now. For a moment, I saw the old Emma.
So, where are they? We need to move.
Ah, you only just missed them. After my chancla... Well, they seem keen to leave. They're waiting for you at the sewers. Emma Jones. In the sewers.
Oh, right. Well, I better go then. It's fucking dangerous out there.
Well, may God watch over you all. And whatever happens, you will always be welcome at the Salazar residence.
God bless you, Andrea. You and your family.
Oh, are you going back downstairs anytime soon? Fetch me a drink when you do.
Here we go. Back to patterns. Yo, Emma, Sam, it's Jacob, you there? Hello? I'm heading over to Patton's crib. I'll see you there.
Court makes decisions that affect all of us on a wide level, and you can either have people in positions of power who are going to do things like strike down.
You're on the wrong side of history, boys. Dream on of bloody deeds and death.
To see them replaced at some point by justice. serious idea that sets it up for 2028. The Democrats control the Senate in 26 and the House in 26, but they are one step away from having trifecta in 28. Now, listen, Republicans have an uphill battle in 26. We all know this. It's an off-year election. It's exacerbated. Right. Openly saying they want their Tucker Carlson thinks that America is a tool of evil, capitalist, globalist, and all that kind of stuff. Of course, many of them are true. It's a coincidence when he says that kind of stuff. When he pushes this crap, when he has on every anti-Semite he can on his show, it's all a coincidence. It's strange that it works out that way, but his view is that America is a tool of the evil capitalist globalists who want to cram down their version of America on the poor common man. And here is a rando to talk about the evils of the Old Testament in order to show you. Tucker does not actually like any of the things that classically have made America awesome. So Tucker Carlson, for example, does not like free markets. You'll recall him praising feudalism over free markets. Feudalism.
Feudalism is so much better than what we have now, because at least in feudalism, the leader is vested in the prosperity of the people who host. If your serfs die, you starve.
There's not an enemy of America that he does not adore. He was praising Nicolas Maduro before the Trump administration ousted Maduro.
Nicolas Maduro and his government are very left-wing on economics, not on social policy, which is kind of interesting. In Venezuela, gay marriage is banned, abortion is banned, sex changes for transgenderism are banned. Very few is the entire hemisphere policies. It is on social policy, depending on the regime. Just saying.
You're on the wrong side of history, boys.
And you know what's different.
Just too young to accept that. We need there should be a good faith effort to figure out what benefits the country. And then he goes into his nationalist socialist spiel. I mean, if you make $60,000 a year, you're degraded. Your life expectancy gets going down, and the promise of your children's lives is likely gone. That is not true. It's not true. Upward mobility in the United States was made. They said no one seems to care.
Hello, people. Anybody home?
And unscrupulous policy he said, and then he says, I was tempted to say to the New York Times, I'm running on a real patriarchy ticket to make sure I can do no defense. This is always Tucker stuff. He says a bunch of left-wing stuff, and then he throws out sort of a right-wing, and then he pulls out his very left-wing down, so he goes out and some ads for stuff he calls it by the president, and then he would not political. So that's what Tucker Carlson is. So, here's the thing. Tucker has no intention of starting a third party. That is not his actual job. He's not going to do that. He's lazy. He has another job that he hasn't. What is Tucker doing here? He's not launching a third party. Okay, Tucker is not stupid. He is ideologically viable, but he's not stupid. He's not going to run a third party because third parties fail. So it's going to take the most obvious here. The Reform Party. Right? The Reform Party started off as an afterthought by Ross Perot. So Ross Perot ran as an independent candidate in 1992.
Oh, you're here.
Yeah, stop by. But Andrea said something about sorry ass.
Yes, well, she really wanted us to stay, but...
We have to be firm with her.
Hey, who's out there?
Patton, I brought a couple of mates. Best behavior.
Oh, hey. Oh! Oh!
Hello.
Oh, it's a mess. Everywhere. Oh. 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 Miss John.
Oh, there's no need to kneel. We're not the Queen. Call me Emma.
Tap on. Ah. Patton.
And I'm Sam B. You know, who do you voodoo, bitch?
Patton, I really need your help.
There's a helicopter on Hollywood Boulevard. Today, you fly
No,
again.
no. I can't.
You know Omen to Kill?
Yeah?
Remember how Randy couldn't get back in a car after his crash? But then, when the monster was about to get me, he suddenly shows up in a Camaro and saves me.
So cool.
I need you to be my Randy. Be Randy for all of us.
Okay. Okay, yeah. I'll try. Oh. For you.
Thank you.
I think I remember how to fly.
We are going to die in a fireball.
Keep it moving.
This way for the happy ending.
Thank you, kind sir.
Oh.
Doesn't matter. Time to reclaim the real you.
Plenty of people would say the sewers is my natural habitat.
Yeah, haters gonna hate.
Yes! Thought it was a red one.
After me.
My pleasure. No.
Find another way around.
Fucker! Come on, Jay. Move. find another way around. Oh, Mum. More pressure woes. Scratch one. scratch too.
Then he would do it to that in that form. He had was an attempt to build out an actual party. Winning about 8% of the national popular vote in 1996. And then you saw that sporadic reform candidates occasionally win. So in 1998, Jesse Ventura, the wrestler, was much popular in Minnesota on the reform ticket. But by 2000, there was a big split in the Reform Party, and Pat Buchanan was the nominee. He left the Republican Party in ire after running and losing in the primaries in 1992. Jesse Ventura then left the party, denouncing it as dysfunctional. And by the time Buchanan ran in 2000, he won 0.5% of the popular vote, and many of the Reform Party voters basically merged back into the GOP. So here's the thing. I hope Tucker launches the third party. Why? Because it'll get crushed. Third parties get crushed. I would love to see a clean referendum on Tucker's perverse view, but he's not going to do that. It's not actually the game. Here is the game. Tucker knows, Tucker sees that Republicans are probably going to have a bad 26. What he wants is to say that the reason the Republicans had a bad 26 is because they alienated key people like him. And thus, if you wish to win in 28, you need to shift the entire policy making direction of the party back in Tucker Carlson's direction. Tucker is not launching the Reform Party. Tucker is launching the DSA, or the TSA, Tucker Socialists of America. His goal is for Republicans to lose in 2026. He wants he's not hiding the ball here. He has said he's not voting Republican. He wants Republicans to lose. He is here to demoralize conservatives prior to 2026. That is the goal. The worse Republicans do, the more Tucker can then try and pretend that the reason Republicans lost is because they disappointed voters like Tucker Carlson. Now again, the reality is that Republicans lose in 2026. There will be a lot of factors. The election will be popular, been unpopular, or legitimately a year at this point. But if Republicans don't vote in 2026, it's not because Tucker and his 5 friends didn't vote for Republicans. But that's the entire game. The entire process of avalanche vote. It's not going to do that. That is the goal. Don't you see? Don't you get it? You need us, Republican Party. You must shift all of your policy prescriptions over from the pro-Putin, pro-Iran, pro-China, anti-American side. You have to do that. What Tucker is doing here is not launching some sort of He's standing outside the Republican Party and then saying, because
never let it be said, I can't handle the pressure.
That's why we lost. That's it. And that is just yet another reason why we actually have to fight, because people care about
trapped in the dark with each other as they turned.
Americans, so we celebrating this weekend. We actually have to fight 2 forces. One is the left, along with the TSA, and the other is the force of their twisted there's a reason. Principles matter. So that's the same principle. Our political so it's never hold one iota. So it's always So yeah, if we celebrate July 4th this weekend, it absolutely shows America is the greatest place in the history of earth, the greatest privilege being born in America. You obviously should celebrate, and my family will be. Hey, we're hoping for July 4th baby. But we all
Emma.
There's an immense responsibility
Patton?
that we all bear.
Anybody?
Perilous and difficult time politically. We need to make sure that America makes it from anniversary 250 to 251, and then to 300, and then to 500. And that only happens if we keep standing for this social need. If we don't surrender. It's like Tucker Carlson on the right. There's Norman Mamdani on the left. Again, looking communism and Marxism and socialism masquerading as some sort of common good conservatism. You don't toe the line for America's enemies. You don't go to Russia and sniff a friend.
a specific test, one that requires complete jurisdiction.
So, what was your reaction when he was trying to steal that from you?
Yeah, no, I mean, I didn't watch it. Well, you there you go. Let's say they start a transgender ballet and American English. Do you want to be the best or the worst? I want to be the worst. Yeah, I mean, now we get to the question whether soccer is inherently unvaluable.
Well, it is the most cool.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's everyone always has now. That's what's happening. Is that basically. United States to essentially
biggest soft power export of American values that I've seen in years, in decades. All these people are going to go back home and demand of their politicians, why don't we have air conditioning? Why don't we have showers that work? Why don't we have all these things? This World Cup has gone so well, and all of these foreign fans are so impressed by all the different aspects of it, that they're going to go back home and explore and say, what are we doing? Like, living the way that we currently live. We've seen the way that people live in America. It doesn't require any more money.
And did you see the guy Freddie is apparently going to the White House?
Well, so he was invited. Here's the thing with Freddie, and I don't know if you followed this. We've been paying attention to it on the opinion side. The backlash against him on the internet has been insane because basically people dug up some vaguely right of center things that he might have tweeted out in the past, and things that and they've gone after him basically as being someone who clearly wants to stay sort of he hasn't shown his face. He wants to stay have some degree of be normal. Probably don't have any expectations of Ireland. But I also think it's phenomenal in the sense that like all these different people, he is one of many, and there are so many people who are going to go back, and I think import the values that we still have here in this country that are good and are valuable back. I think that this has been one of the best things that we could possibly do in America's 250th, and I did not expect that. I honestly thought it could be a complete crap show, but it turns out to be great.
Yeah, okay, look, you have done more to convince me to like soccer than anyone has ever done.
You don't have to watch it. I'm not saying you have to watch it.
You know what I want about football, I guess I should say? It's friendly fire. The 4th of July is coming up. So we're all getting ready to celebrate Somali Independence Day in Ohio. I don't know if anyone's going to make the trek out there, but if you guys have any plans?
Might have that's next. I think we are right on the verge. Yeah, no, we are right on the verge of baby time. I thought, like, one of the reasons that I can't stick around for the entire broadcast, as you can hear, my voice is totally gone. The reason my voice is totally gone is because, like, 2 nights ago, my wife started having contractions about 20 minutes apart, and we thought for sure it was time to go to the hospital. And that lasted until about 2 o'clock in the morning, at which point it abated. So I was so short on sleep that it totally wrecked my voice. But yeah, I mean, any moment, and I've had a deal for 20 years with my wife, which is that if the baby is born between July 2nd and July 4th, any year, but particularly in 250 year, then I get to use a founding father name. So this is like, this is exciting.
I feel Governor, I assume, or are you going to follow what the options are?
Gouverneur Morris, Gouverneur Morris is going to be. We're gonna, exactly. But there's some good ones to choose from. Jefferson Shapiro sounds kind of wild, but there's some possibilities that.
Charles Carroll Shapiro, that could be a good. Dude, if your kid is born on the 4th of July, that in the 250th, that would be. It's like Providence, Providence has its way. God has his way in history, has his way, rather. Okay, now, well then, if I only have you for like 5 seconds, what I'm told on this schedule that we have to talk about, and I actually do want to talk to you about, is, I was just in D.C. That's I'm not totally on baby watch yet, but the reason I look terrible and sound only slightly better is because I've been traveling all over. We were in D.C. I was already going for the unveiling of the statue of my great-great-great-great-great-grandpa Simon Knowles, part of the American Revolution displays. And then I was stopping by the Great American State Fair, playing the yes or no game. But then at the last minute, the vice president was able to make some time through the whole hour to interview him about his book, and Iran, and 2028, and Democrats, and all that stuff. And so, Ben, did you catch me when you
Yeah, I did. I caught much of it, actually. I thought you did a good job. It was really interesting. Obviously, significant improvements to the vice president on a wide variety of issues, as we've discussed on the program. I thought that, to me, the kind of bizarre fixation that the vice president has on criticizing people who are mad at the MOU is, I think, unbecoming for him. He's far more critical of people who are critical of the MOU than he is of people who have been really undermining the war inside the entire time, which I find bizarre. But obviously, he's really well spoken. He's very smooth. And I thought you did a good job with the interview.
Thank you. I appreciate it. It's funny that you mentioned that, the criticism of criticizing people who are criticizing the MOU. Because I did, even when he was talking about that, I wanted to clarify. I said, hold on, you're talking about the people who are upset
I'm counting on
about
you to keep
the
them
war
safe,
not
Sam.
continuing versus, it's unclear what you're talking about. And, but you made that clear. My take on it is that the media, at least, I don't know if it's really the admin as much, but the media at least have made him kind of the face of the MOU. And so criticism of the MOU is often seen as criticism of him, even though obviously, look,
this is directly for the MOU. I mean, but I'm not going to put on the media. I criticized the president for signing it. What J.D. Vance made of the face of this personally negotiating. He continues to personally do press on behalf of an MOU that is currently falling apart, not just in the Strait of Hormuz, but also because an actual good peace plan has been put forward in Lebanon, which runs directly against the MOU. The Vance's approach, which has been to essentially take sort of an Obama-esque tack with regard to opponents of the MOU. All they want is endless war. They just want endless bombing. That's what they're promoting. We've discussed this on the show multiple times on Friendly Fire. Like, what would alternatives be? I mean, one alternative would be just to walk away from the Strait and not handle things. Another alternative would be bomb Harga Island and provide as much aerial defense for the Saudis, Bahrain, and UAE as possible, and basically destroy Iranian economic capacity from this point forward. Another possibility would be to essentially arm up all of our allies and then attempt to actually project into the Strait of Hormuz. And if the Saudis don't like it, tell the Saudis to stick it. Recognition freedom is something the president wanted to do. And the Saudis apparently said, no, I have never and will never understand the idea that if we are funding and paying for a base in Saudi Arabia gets to tell us what to do with that base. That's insane to me. I think that we should tell the Saudis, listen, we're paying for your defense. All your F-35s belong to us. Right? Now we're trying to protect you from your moral nemesis in Iran. We feel like opening the Strait using bases that we are supplying, staffing, and running. then we're just going to do that. But in any case, those are all, I think, fair critiques of the MOU without reference to eternal war, forever war, and I don't like the dumbed-down version of this politics that sounds very much like Barack Obama's defense of the JCPOA, where Obama would say, if you oppose the JCPOA, it's because you want a forever war with Iran, or you want a nuclear war with Iran, or you want to obliterate Iranian civilization, or anything like that.
I get the criticism,
stupid.
Isn't it in the context of not just the GOP, but in the context of Trump? A criticism of endless war is not just Obamian, Obamaian. It's also Trumpian. Trump in 2016, one of his big breaks with the rest of the GOP is he criticized George Bush for endless wars, and specifically Iraq. So when the vice president comes out and uses that language, that seems to me to be very much in line with Trump.
No, the problem is that Trump
you asked the vice president about his criticism of me personally.
Did he criticize you?
When he went on Megyn Kelly read him a list of things that had been said about the MOU. It was from me. And that was what led into him saying, all these people just want to keep the war going on forever. They want to keep bombing until all the Iranians.
Really? Oh,
now, as someone who opposed the Iraq War, that, by the way, tons of people supported, including his old boss, David Frum, who was calling people like me unpatriotic conservatives at the time that we opposed the Iraq War. I think it's unfortunate, and I think it's beneath him to suggest that people like me who do not, in fact, I've been, really do want to just walk away from the thing. I think the deal is bad. Don't want to hand the Iranians any money. Want to keep bombing until all the Iranians.
I didn't realize. I think Ben, I think might have frozen up a little bit. I don't think that it wouldn't have been great to bring up that question as I known about it. In fact, I think to get the real ratings up, I should have had you walk out from back like, well, we have him here, Ben Dominic, our father. That's
Can you have the glass shattering sound before I walk out? I just think that I have to agree with Ben. I think that it's unfortunate that he's using that argument because there's a lot of us who back the president, think that he did something that was bold here, who just don't like the nature of it. For certain people, I don't think the Iranians forever.
Dead-eyed commuters.
Our other pal just said he did want to keep bombing.
Nothing that I just implied, actually. So none of which bombing Iranians not allowed forever to Iranian. I'm thinking about that small island. Island is a small island. Most of them all. They complete that military operation. It would take presumably about 3 beach sorties to finish Arga Island, and then you would never have to go there again. It sounds like an endless bombing. Or something that 90 points was into me. I might be getting that wrong, but I'm not sure that's how bombing. So it's a small thing. But yeah, there you go.
I predicted this from the beginning that he did end this with a deal would be deeply dissatisfied. So I don't think anybody disagrees on that. But it just seems like right now we have a couple of options, which is either, maybe there's a third, that you get some version of the MOU, or you get some version of continuing to bomb our missiles out. Or, you could walk away, but now you're walking away with Iran.
And they're effectively in control of the threat anyway. Honestly, I'm of the opinion that you better off walking away from the threat of almost completely maintaining the sanctions and making them completely host So that was one issue that I had with what the Vice President was saying. The other one was, of course, the Vice President's bizarre attack on Freeman's economics. As New York Freeman's economics stopped declining in the 1980s for some unspecified reason because the Vice President is irrelevant, which is a strange time since it turns out that he wrote that after
part of why Milton Friedman's ideas made more sense in the 1980s is because they were being advocated in a country that still had a very rich and powerful institution of Christianity. And so, like, being a laissez-faire in a world where there are Christian guardrails on everything is a much different proposition than being laissez-faire in a world where globalized liberalism has become the sort of status quo.
Okay, so I'm not sure I disagree with that.
Yeah, 10 to 1, someone in here has the key.
I don't think he's wrong there. I think that one of the problems that we've known about when it comes to that we didn't just import cheap television for people that people enjoy here in America. It's fertile here. Unintentionally, we thought that this was going to change China, but it changed us. And it's one of these things that I think is sort of an underestimated aspect of it. You need kind of both of these things to have a really strong nation.
Dead-eyed commuters.
That doesn't make Milton Friedman atheist libertarian friend. You guys, biggest fan. Rick Santorum. I think you're like in order to have free nation,
So I agree, obviously, the church is very, very important. I've never my entire life preaching in favor of the idea that the police were church. And obviously, church membership was higher in the 1980s than it is now. I mean, if we're going to get factual about this, reality is the church attendance in America really started at 9/11 that's really when things started to grow significantly. As late as 1999, 7% of the members of church synagogue, in the United States. The idea that the basis of economics changes because of church attendance, and therefore we as government to somehow come in as the centralizing force that's going to re-inculcate a common good. So welfare programs or redistributionism or government regulation
10 to 1, someone in here has
in the American population is estimating that if they're going to look at a correlation, since the 1960s has been exponential. The attendance in church has dropped radically in that same exact period. And to make a very strong case that actually one of the reasons for attendance declining in church and church membership declining is government actually realizing the functionality of church in everyday life. Like it's even say social security, social security, take care of grandma, and she doesn't live in your house. If you don't think that's much charity, my church, be a member of my church, engage in the values of my church in order to gain access to all of the institutional support of the church in order to just go pick up a check from the government. And so this bizarre attempt to sort of reverse engineer virtue via government fiat, government redistributionism, and centralization of economic resources, it's completely backward.
I think when you have that dollar sign as like the primary motivation in your life, too, that also allows the type of lies to emerge that build off of that social security experience that all of those lives going over later, can exploit, because everything becomes a very issue. It's all about, and there is no kind of shared communitarian value that brings people together and that says, just something as simple as you're in America, an era in which relatives and friends, trust teenagers that you've been
one set of service keys
have their nose in their phone. Like, that's something that definitely we have lost here in the recent decades, and it's a major problem. And I think that it's one of the reasons why all these people are able to exploit a message of anti-capitalism to a bunch of dumb people who don't understand that it's what made the country as powerful as it was in the first place.
But also, I agree with a lot of the observations. We can't really think about it from a quantitative perspective, or also from a qualitative perspective. In some ways, in the earlier parts of our country, we had a much bigger government role than we do today.
Hey, it's me!
And we had the early Watch out! some states, you would also have said the government has to
keep moving. We can meet up down the line.
Emma's
really getting into the zombie slaying group.
Vice President suggesting he's not suggesting a return of food laws or blasphemy laws. He's suggesting massive governmental intervention in the economy, and that reverses the arrow of causality. So I think you can make a very solid historical case that church, arrow, capitalism. So that's actually true. I mean, the reality is that market capitalism in the West was actually an outgrowth originally of property rights rooted in certain capital perceptions.
Don't get up on my account.
Later, antiquated by these perceptions of the value of free markets, capitalism, innovation, and work ethic. Right? That's Max Weber. And so you can see these institutions perceive capitalism, which clearly is true. But I don't think you can then say Marxist, that actually is a Marxist idea, that economics precedes social institution. And so we must change our economics to that's actually not.
And so, you know, and you can't really the position that the people are taking is between Milton Friedman and the economics of Alexander Hamilton. Actually, Hamilton pursues Milton Friedman. I don't mean to diss Friedman. I like a lot of Friedman. But, you know, there are some things that seem to be important for the government to take on. Namely, you know, under a totally laissez-faire system, which developed under the name of neoliberalism for 50 years, we've outsourced a lot of our manufacturing, our supply chain, to a degree that means that we are now very, very vulnerable to China. If we ever want to go to a serious war with China, we really have to think about how we do that during COVID. So that might suggest that maybe the government could focus in a Hamiltonian way on the development of industry in the United States.
So I actually agree that the Hamiltonian argument on national security level is something that I've actually agreed with, and it makes sense to me. I think that he's using what we would call a lost argument.
Hello?
He's basically saying that because you're taking key industries and outsourcing them, therefore the government should be in control of an enormous swath of American industry that has nothing to do with national security, or just called national security. Stuff in
oh, muddling along, can't complain.
And then when he talks about
I'll see you on the other side.
I can guarantee this. The idea that Hamilton is in favor of kinds of nationalization schemes, full scale, are being contemplated with the gigantic welfare state that was built, or the gigantic administrative and regulatory state, is totally insane. What Alexander Hamilton was studying for in a national bank was the idea that America must be able to pay its collective debt. That is the thing that he was attempting to crack an institution. Basically, the solvency of the United States, because the United States kept eating this paper. And so now, if we're talking about consolidation under a single institution, you may notice that the main concern of Alexander Hamilton, which was that our good faith and credit is being undermined by the very institutions that J.D. Vance is going to expand. Because the good faith and credit of the United States is now being put at risk by paper speculators in South Carolina. They're being put at risk by Congress, by the Federal Reserve, by the Secretary of the Treasury,
and slipping its crispy bollocks.
At an exorbitant rate, unsupportable and unprecedented in all of history.
Yeah, listen, I'm all for that long pursuit of Trump administration, certainly. Which is a relatively recent innovation in American history. You also had no less administrator than Ronald Reagan protecting U.S. steel. Was he really doing that for national security purposes? Harley Davidson, agriculture. You had George W. Bush, for example, protecting industry. So you can trace protectionism back to Alexander Hamilton.
It's precedented. It's just dumb. It's precedented. It's just dumb. It was not a good idea in the 80s. It wasn't a good idea when George W. Bush did. It's a dumb idea now, unless you're doing it for national security reasons.
Okay, now before I let you go, it's news. Maybe Tucker, let's let you know, starting a political party, to be a non-interventionist, America First, Reform political party. Where have I heard of that before? It's not.
Can I just ask which version of Tucker is this party? He contains multitudes. He is.
It does. I mean,
you look back.
It's a funny question, but there's a real answer to it. I think the real answer is right? Am I misreading that?
Yes. No, that's right. That's right. It's like the Pat Buchanan version of the Reform Party in 2000, where Pat Buchanan won 0.4% of the vote, but just enough in Florida to cast the presidency to George W. Bush. That's his only role in history, Pat Buchanan. But the idea, first of all, it's not true. Okay, Tucker's saying he's launching a third party. He's not doing any of this shit. But let's explain exactly what Tucker is doing here. What Tucker is doing here is he's blackmailing the Republican Party into embracing his positions by claiming that he's going to posit a threat to the Republican Party from the outside. So what you actually have right now is Tucker trying to run a quasi-DSA play. Essentially, he's looking at 2026. 2026 is going to be a disaster area for Republicans. Right now, Republicans are running dead even or behind in all 6 of the various states in which they have races, up to and including Iowa, Texas, and Alaska. Yeah. Tucker is looking at that. He is hoping, he wants the Republicans to get their asses kicked, because then what he's going to say is the reason that they got destroyed is because they didn't cater to people like me. And me sitting outside here with my non-existent third party, if only they'd engaged with me, if only they'd come back to me, then they would have won. And so it's basically a blackmail play. And it's smart. It's smart. But the idea that also, again, says in that same interview that he has no attention span, and is widely known in the media as one of the lazier members of the media, that the Tucker is going to sit there with the actual nuts and bolts of building a ground-up political party based on the pretensions of Thomas Massey, Marjorie Taylor Greene, and Joe Kent. Good luck. I mean, listen, my dream is that he starts a third party. I would love for Tucker Carlson to start a third party, because then we could have a clear referendum on the stupidity of his ideas. But instead, what he's going to do is not that. What he's going to do is he's going to falsely claim that 2026 happened not because it was an off-year election, not because Trump was unpopular on a wide variety of issues, but because Tucker Carlson personally was displeased with Donald Trump's policy on Iran and Epstein and all the rest. And therefore, the only way to ensure Republican victory going forward is to put Tucker Carlson in the driver's seat of the party. And obviously, Tucker is very much aligned with J.D. Vance. So I think that's the proposal he's making here.
You know, I could sense that this was just a replay of the Reform Party, especially the 2000 Pat Buchanan version. Tucker himself.
Can I disagree for a second? I've met Pat Buchanan. I know Pat Buchanan. Tucker's no Pat. Pat Buchanan is smarter than Tucker. He's more consistent than Tucker. He is a more disciplined speaker than Tucker. I still think that his 1992 convention speech was something that presaged. And it is essential viewing for anyone to understand American politics. And by the way, while being referred to as a culture war speech, it is mostly about economics. It is not. It is about crime, economics, and working class issues. And then they did this whole revisionist history where it was like, oh no, he came in and destroyed HW's chances for re-election by turning it into this election that was going to be about abortion and gays and stuff like that. The truth is that I think that you have to understand, you need to understand Pat Buchanan in order to understand politics. I'm not sure you need to understand Tucker, and I'm not sure it's possible to understand him, just given how crazy he's been in the last couple of years.
No, it's an interesting point, and I guess, I mean, if the roadmap for the new Tucker party, or its Inventu, not like kind of fake out party, is just, okay, I'm going to do what Pat Buchanan tried to do in 2000, then you could, I mean, even to your point, Ben, where you say, I don't compare Tucker to Pat Buchanan, you say, well, if you're just going to replay the same script, then, it can only happen first one time. And to your point, other Ben, it's just very annoying, having the only other two guys on the show. Anyway, to your point, it didn't work out. He got points.
We'll figure this out eventually.
Yes, yeah. But it actually had not occurred to me. I can't read Tucker, and when he does these things that are really out there, and some people in politics, I can read them like an open book. Tucker, I couldn't figure out exactly what he was getting at here.
Well, sociopathy is very, very difficult to understand.
I think your read on that is probably right. I don't. Tucker's too smart to want to start another political party, and he doesn't.
And just by the way, there is our sponsors at Kalshi have a market on Tucker running for president in 2028 himself, and I guess it's currently at around 25%, something like that.
Yeah, I would short that. No way.
I would short that.
He
does not have the discipline to start a political party. He does not. Definitely doesn't have the discipline.
All right.
That's not.
On that, I guess no one here is joining the Tucker party. No one. I thought you were signing up. But then you are signing out. You're on Baby Watch. That's awesome. Everybody keep Ben and more in your dreams. If your kid is born on 4th of July, I'm going to have severe birthday envy. but it would be very cool, and I look forward to Governor Shapiro coming up. Good to see you, sir.
Amazing. Let's go.
We have Cabot.
Oh, we do.
We do. Hey, Cabot, what's up?
And now it's less confusing.
Thank goodness. It was driving me nuts, man. I've only worked in media for like 10 or 15 years. I couldn't figure out how to do it.
You got to be thing 1 and thing 2 or something like that. I mean,
So, all right, Kevin, we already covered my interview with Vice President and Iran and Tucker's new political party, which I heard you just joined. But now I want to talk about the Dems. Where do the midterms stand?
Yeah, it's been really interesting. I think given the last 3 or 4 months, we would have expected the Republicans to have lost a ton of ground on the generic ballot with regards to midterms. If you actually look back the week before the war in Iran started, Democrats were at like 47.5%, Republicans in the high 43s. Despite the last 3 or 4 months of inflation going back up and the war getting worse and people not being happy with the war when it ended, Democrats have only gained about 0.5% in the generic ballot. And so I'm still maybe delusionally optimistic that given the lack of momentum for the Democrats, given the apparent ceiling that we're seeing, given these new socialist candidates that are going to give the Republicans people to point to and make this race about, that things maybe won't be as bad as a lot of Republicans are racing for. I'm always the delusional optimist, though. But yeah, that's what the big thing is just what these socialist races are going to do to the politics more broadly. We talk about that a lot on my new show, Friday. Ben Domenech has been on about half a dozen times, and Michael Knowles, what are they going to do to get you back?
Yeah, I did it. No, I did it once, and I don't know, I felt too intimidated. You on that nice big set. I kind of felt like you were set and suit-mogging me, so I don't know. Maybe I'd like to come back now that we're in the heat of midterm season. And you point out you got all these socialists, but you're too rosy about it. Ben, can you please bring us down to earth?
Yeah, so I actually think that this midterm is going to be terrible for Republicans. And I think that they are likely to still hold the Senate. But that's still, I think, something that is a lot closer than anyone expected it to be. Just
this gives me an idea.
Some of the decisions that they've made
How are my lovely
have
people?
made this a lot riskier. We saw that New York Times poll, for instance, that has Ken Paxton tied
I'll be
with
arriving
James
in
Talerico.
style. Found the train carriage
Something
that's salvageable.
along the lines of these Supreme Court cases that just came down. They benefit Talerico
This is
because
Jacob, the
Paxton
Choo-Choo
is going to have to
monster
lean
you're
hard
talking
on the birthright
Enjoy your
citizenship
walk.
question. He's going to have to support whatever the Republicans coalesce around in response to that. Talerico gets on the transgender sports question because he can basically say Texas decided not to have men and girls sports, and I agree with them, and that's going to be fine, and I have nothing to do with that as a senator. And the problem that really shows in that poll is, and it's been apparent across multiple polls actually,
Okay, so
is that Paxton
thingies
is
and
losing
charge the what's it,
Hispanics to Talerico dramatically. So you don't have the same type of situation that you had with Ted Cruz, for instance, just 2 years ago. Now that doesn't mean that I don't think Paxton's going to win. I actually do think he's going to win. The amount of time that's going to be spent backing someone like him, the amount of money that's going to have to go into a state that's going to save, that's stuff that comes away from other states that are much riskier. Democrats are also trying to play loose in a bunch of these situations. We've seen them do it before. Back in the independent candidates in circumstances. In Alaska, they actually put a guy with the same name as Dan Sullivan on the ballot, which is pretty ridiculous. The one thing that I do think, though, that we should find is Democrats lost this war. And so in a lot of these situations, these people are running completely new districts. And the candidates, therefore, can't rely on a one-to-one comparison compared to how they performed before, because they have a different electorate that may not know them, that has a new response to them. I think the real question here is if the Democratic Party is able to basically hold the wool over the eyes of the independent voter, say that these socialists that find just these little spots in the country, don't care about that, don't look at that. There's no man behind the curtain who believes in Marx Engels. We are instead going to try to turn this into a situation where we are the party that's about affordability, that's about anti-corruption, that is anti-war, that is going to make your gas prices come down, et cetera, et cetera. They're going to try to run in that direction. And I think Republicans are going to run on crime and calling Democrats crazy. that doesn't tend to be the kind of message that gets people out who aren't already going to vote.
Wow, yeah, and so it makes me even more upset about the Supreme Court decisions, because the birthright citizenship one ultimately is much, much more important than the Title IX decision, which is actually into Gorsuch's view from the Title VII decision. I don't know, it seemed a little bit like they were kind of following the headlines in the opinion polls. So regardless, birthright citizenship, that is a nation-shaking event. So that's obviously terrible for Republicans. At least we got the trans bill, right? No, to your point, that takes the killer issue for the Dems, especially like that. I mean, that race really wrecked. That race looked like it might be a little tight. He destroyed the trans sports issue. Now it's totally off the table.
Yeah, it gives them, it bails them out. And the last note I just say that I think Republicans always calculate how much voters are actually paying attention to the great things that Congressmen and in some cases Senate candidates, Michigan and Maine Senate candidates, or I'm assuming the craziest guy's going to win in Michigan, that they always kind of count on that to help them cross the line. And I don't think that that's actually the way it works. It can help you in a full election in a presidential year, but it helps you less when it comes to midterm elections because it is more localized, more about people's immediate concerns. And I think, unfortunately, Republicans have been, they've been throwing rocks at each other here in Washington. They can't get on the same page. White House and the Senate are split. All these different, House things are shenanigans. I just do not see a lot of signs that this is going to be a good situation, for Republicans. I know that there's a Kalshi market on this, of course, which party will win the U.S. Senate that you can check out. They're one of our and I think that this is a situation where everything has tightened. People are a lot more concerned about this than they were 6 months ago when Republicans were confident they were going to hold that body. It could end up being 50-50, in which case, J.D. Vance, clear your schedule. You're going to be
Ben, I agree with you that I think the average primary, or the average
draw some
unwanted voter maybe isn't super aware of what Chevalier is doing, or what Quiroz in Colorado is doing. But I do think that Democrat leadership is very aware of those people, and they're very scared of them. And we're starting to see Democratic leadership be forced to embrace them. We saw Kamala Harris this week come out and get called Johnny personally. Please do it. I saw David Pritzker. David Pritzker, I think. Do it. Pritzker on CNN, and he said, yeah, the strategy of these socialist candidates, he said their strategy is when we're going to win 2026 and beyond. And so, the leader have to say that so they don't kill him. My point is that I think that these candidates, they might not have a huge impact on Senate voters in Texas. They will have an impact on the broader perception Democrats in that they're going to force Democratic leadership to go further left for fear of being beaten as we point out. Usually Pritzker's the one doing the beating, but in this case, people are getting beaten this thing. I don't have the DSA stuff. There was that poll that just came out that showed that rank and file Dems have a higher opinion of Democratic socialists than they do of Democrats in Congress. And you think, well, all right, that's a low bar, right? Democrats in Congress aren't falling over. It's pretty scary that the Democrat voter would be today prefer the socialists. It used to be this kind of fringe, weird, now they're falling higher than the Democrats in Congress. What does it tell you about the state of the party? To me, when I got that news, it reminded me of what we saw after Charlie was killed, which is, that itself was obviously a major personal drama for a lot of
Okay, so prime the thingies and charge the watches, I guess.
Drama, which is that you found out 28% of young leftists agreed that it was okay, to justify it. And huge swath throughout the left, television, they would often this actually is something like that. We're seeing, I don't know, we're seeing a lot of Democrats coming out in the Democrat Party, the Democratic state senators,
they just voted to allow child molesters to run for office. They voted down a measure to keep them out of office. That wasn't
They needed more representation.
No, they do. I mean, the headlines weren't even as bad as the reality.
Speak for FP5.
The original thing that we're seeing in the headlines is Scott Wiener, who's the one who, and Scott Wiener is the total police in this moment. It's not just him. It's like, I wish it were just him. It's the mainstream, most of the downtown town. So what's the thing?
Can I just, I'm going to quote a random guy on X. I think had a great explanation. Shout out to Roman Helmet guy. America is a Latin American country. Let's explain politics. We elect communists to kill the rich. Communists bring poverty and crime. We elect fascists to kill the communists. The fascists and the communists. Unfortunately, as someone who has been saying for a long time that I thought that American politics is starting to look more and more like Latin America, by the way, with Donald Trump, let's elect the strong man, elect the man who's going to solve the problem. I think that is unfortunately dangerous with what we're setting up in this situation, which is a takeover of the Centenarian Democratic Party that is out of touch. It's most and we saw this happen. Basically, what happened was their ideas were subsumed into the Republican Party and the fundamental Republican kind of framework that three-legged stool, that remains just sort of a change in priority. But I don't think it's just a change in priority. I think it's a change of the American Party, and I think that unfortunately happened may end up being a monopartisan affair. Faster than
we've had this huge movement of rehab and and we've been mixing maxing this summer. I think we might have to start Pinochet maxing. We might have to do this on. We might have to start. Exactly. On the topic of socialism, that poll of the number of Democrats that see socialism favorably, I just can't help but think that that's more a reflection of their with the situation in America. They're feeling that neither party is speaking for them. And to that point, I do think that a lot of people ideas obviously are important. They're not all wrong in saying that they have reason to be angry in the country. But I don't think that actually they necessarily think it means. Like, I don't think most of them would actually support the Democratic Socialist America agenda. And look at the agenda. We know that the DSA supports, universal health care, play compared to where the DSA platform actually is. So this month they published their new, they call it, the Workers Deserve More plan. The official plan from the DSA includes abolishing the Senate, defunding the entire placing the President and Supreme Court with an executive this year's by subordinate to Congress.
Of course, I've always found it the most popular
Senate established the Third International. I don't think that the average Democrat is socialism. I don't think they're supporting that. But that is what the DSA never does.
Kevin, can I ask you? I assume you probably saw that viral clip of AOC. J.D. Vance said you're the candidate for Grant president. And one of the things she says in that clip is about how people in her generation feel like they've been handled as by the that argument is the most powerful one that they have because the simple fact is that we were the greatest generation in terms of distribution themselves. And there's a reason why we have the kind of resentment for a situation where they are still, by far, even though they have really shrunk, obviously, as a generation, they own the most houses in America. They own the most property in America. They don't want to sell it. They don't want to give it up. And so you have people who are trying to form families who have to live in apartments. And that's the kind of thing where that resentment. There's a quality to it that I think Republicans unfortunately failed to.
You know what I find unfortunate? The Cabot's still on this show. So get out of here, you. No, I know you. Yeah, so whatever you do, make sure right now you're going to subscribe to Cabot. You shall dial in Spotify, Apple Podcast. That is the only way to see Cabot is starting I just had a big 2000th episode. We're on episode 50, and that's something worth celebrating. So come join us live on Daily Wire, 4 p.m. Eastern, every Monday through Thursday. It's a lot of fun. And we'll get Michael's Olds back on. I'll do it, especially if you guys go over there en masse. Then I'm going to have to go over there and say, hey, I'm still here.
So
Come on,
Prime the thingies and charge the
Thank
watches,
you.
I
As
guess.
always, good to see you.
You know, you mentioned one.
This may draw some unwanted attention.
Story that we had literally being read to the troops in their boats when they were crossing the Delaware River in the middle of the night to do their famous raid to change the course of history 250 years ago. He had them reading the opening passage of Spain's American Crisis, which decries the summer soldier and the sunshine patriot. We need more people than summer soldiers and sunshine patriots. We need people who are engaged at this moment in our country and understand the crisis that we're in. And the way to understand that crisis is to subscribe to the Daily Wire Plus. We are so proud to bring you a new deal on the 250th anniversary of this country that is going to be a 3-month for $7.76. That is going to offer you everything that the Daily Wire offer. Is everything. It's all of the documentaries. It is it's all of the different historical truths. It's all of the different articles, pieces, things, content that we're rolling out. Documentaries, the full entertainment library, and we're going to be putting out a bunch of stuff this summer. So you definitely sign up for this. Get off the fence about joining. No better moment than on the nation's 250th birthday. DailyWire.com. Go sign up and have fun.
Okay, can I actually be totally sincere and earnest, which I almost never am, certainly not on the show? That was an inspiring ad read. The Summer Soldier and Sunshine Patriot, Washington, that was a good ad. Sign up. That was great. I really like, okay, before I let you go,
You got it. Look, I'm sure Tom Paine would approve of me using his words to sell things, but I think it's actually true. I think that what the Daily Wire offers is the truth about history, the truth about who we are. That's what the offering to the soldiers. They knew in that night how desperate they were. They were down to the end. And this was a night of desperate, brave attack. And they could never have appreciated that they were in the midst of founding the greatest nation in the history of the world. And I think that that's something that we should appreciate now and subscribing to the Daily Wire. That's the way I think that you can help appreciate it and understand it.
And you know what else? You know we now know, thanks to the story, is that Thomas Paine slept on a Helix mattress. So head on over to... No, he didn't. I don't think that. Okay, we are now bringing on... Talk about when we let those turn the Supreme Court decision I wanted to talk about themselves, and then also Idaho, U.S. State, used firing squad for execution. Is that the first U.S. State ever, or just we're bringing it back? I don't know.
I think that's good. Yeah.
Theo.
There we go.
Yeah. You guys, I don't know if it's the same thing. Give me and Darren the Hustler. I think we actually appreciate this stuff so much. That's
It literally was the original, your ideas, no issue.
That's right. So, on the big case, on the
Okay,
one
so
that
prime the thingies and charge the whatsits, I guess.
I never thought the court was going to go along with us out of cowardice. I thought there were really good arguments, good historical arguments for the court to go along. I think the court is just institutionally and the Democrats think essentially. But in terms of the actual legal matter, what happened? Yeah. minutes before the court. I think that Robert's opinion, one way of sort of distilling this down, is to say it's essentially a discursive armchair historian's view of the 14th Amendment, really rooted in Anglo-common law. Notion of citizenship, there's from Britain into the United States, and that's where kind of and I think what Vito is right to say and get to say, and Thomas comes to say, and so you've got a very Andy Marcus, the famous natural rights theorist, to me really says years, anytime the court tries to settle definitively what is really at rules, a small similar cases where the court tried to say, and I think that the sense from Thomas and the book that it was not only
I would have prefaced by saying that I've been for a very long time. Hardline immigration Victorian supported for Brexit. We believe in having states of children, and we believe that it's chaotic, and we believe in border control, immigration enforcement, and things that prevent this from being avoided. The situation that we face today is obviously dramatically different than everything that we saw even just a few decades ago. The level of terrorism, when it comes to the level of people who are aligned to come here for a brief amount of time just in order to have babies, claim dual citizenship, who are exploiting Medicaid and other welfare programs. So, this is a completely different scenario than we were in even 15, 20 years ago. And
of course, I've always found the most popular bet.
The decision, though, to go with an EO, that I know that you were, obviously a key component of that is from you. I actually don't know thing, but that EO was always something that seemed to put in your mind, this thing's going to get kicked out, because it's not something that has the backing of or potentially even a bipartisan. I think you might have gotten some done in that randomly I think it's just ridiculous. I also think that this outcome is one that most Americans are just going to shrug at, unfortunately. Do you think that it would be possible to do this via executive?
Yeah, so the executive order, I would say it was much more about the exemptions and Congress kind of dismissing about Canadians and right? Native Americans, boys, all of that stuff. I don't think it's that way, so really exciting. Is that the defined space here, or is there more sort of elasticity in the joints, if you will, because of the new situation we face?
Okay, so
millions of
crime, the
doctors in
thingies
Miami,
in charge
Southern
of what's it, I
California,
guess.
the false asylum claimants, etc. So I think the idea of tackling this in executive order, and although executive order alone, right, this could have always been on track with a statutory effort in Congress from the word go back in January 25. I think the idea of pushing this solely in executive order, you know, just and I think both Vito, I think both Vito and Thomas both are kind of, the idea that you can do this exclusively through unilateral executive power makes them uncomfortable. So
There's also a mistake here. Equally, the larger political discussion we need to have is missing a meeting site, which is citizenship, engaging coordination process, understanding civics education. Most people here are birth tourists or illegal aliens can just have the magic of birth and automatically give birth to an American citizen. And that's a very weird scenario, and that's open. That would have been very, promising ground for Republicans in Congress or elected Republicans in the state houses across the country to make that argument. We require this of naturalization. Why would we require something more? Domicile and allegiance for any citizen who's coming here and giving birth. And this opportunity again. Yeah, and even so, beyond the question of executive order versus legislation, or even the Supreme Court precedent, which obviously comes from Wong Kim Ark, or the public meeting from the framing of the 14th Amendment, you make this very good point then, which is that Roberts is leaning on, or sorry, Theo, you might make this point. Well, one of you did, and probably the other one agrees with it. That Roberts is leaning on the Anglo tradition, and which is where we get our law from, the English common law. And the English common law had birthright citizenship, so we are told, jus soli versus jus sanguinis, the right of the blood. But I think this is a really important point, which is that you had a birthright as a subject of the king, not in any modern sense of citizenship. And so if we're going to make the parallel, or we're going to cite the United Kingdom, we should look at what happened after the Second World War, when the United Kingdom changed its previous citizenship subject to king citizenship. What does the UK do? The UK gets rid of birthright citizenship. And in 1984, because it was 1983, precisely to use proper migration. It's going to say, look, Wong Kim Ark is going to decide this is going to go in 1998. The Congress hasn't really waited. And Congress has told us didn't think that it's just giving a free ride to every Chinese spy. Totally. What's the court substitute to that? Who's the court paid 5-4 having a substitute for it? So they say, sorry, 14th Amendment is citizenship and legal. Is there I think that's an excellent distillation. A Citizenship Act. So the British have changed their notion of citizenship 3 times in a fundamental, massive way. And yet, justice is saying, well, we got to go back to the 15th, 16th to look at the way the British understand subject. It makes no sense.
Okay, so prime the thingies and charge the Watsons, I guess.
The expansive opinion here that this is resting on
this may draw some unwanted attention.
And I also have Ben's point, also this point on presenting this as an executive order assertion of power. I think in large part, most of what thinking again about what's required in a small conflict and a closer discussion these informations that citizenship imposes. Part of the problem here is we essentially neglected this entire conversation and left it to abstract legal theory or judges and roads to determine who is and who is not a citizen.
Can I just make a point that politics of immigration also played into that for a long time Republicans saw immigration as kind of the second third rail of politics, Medicare or something like that. they didn't want to touch it because they were worried they were going to piss everybody off by doing it. And the truth is that in that window, something like this, thinking the late 90s, early 2000s, that didn't happen. And because that didn't happen, you're left with this situation, as you said, left with legal activity. And judges of growth make decisions. Like, we need that that is a real and people have said that people are accepting that, all accepting that because they want to be citizens, not subjects. And that's what we want. There are a lot of people, I think, that today, politically, and we should not.
Very, very good point. Before I let you go, Steve, we have to talk about speaking of the big idiots of standing up, blindfolded, and a cigarette in my teeth. Firing squad. That actually seems to be the most dignified way to go. I don't know. As this, I believe you were.
What?
I actually don't get what the big deal is.
Yeah, I did a great question.
Okay, so prime the thingies and charge the whatsits, I guess.
Have lost their mind in the last 24 hours about this. The archaic, barbaric, gun-obsessed.
This may draw some unwanted attention.
Essentially, how the event read yesterday. I mean, really, the issue here is something a very basic premise. It's tied to our previous conversation, which is the people of Idaho, reflected in numerous red states, and some blue states across the country, elected to have punishment for certain class offenses. And after this, then members of the states of Idaho that drive necessary to create a free their way of short-circuiting the third choice of the people and the establishment of the law. In Idaho's answer wasn't like some other red state, well, I guess they got us, access to drugs, we can't be compounding courtesy factors or instead of Idaho said execution of the Eighth Amendment. And to your point, Michael, it turns out actually there are defendants of the firing squad more meaningful of execution than the average firing squad seconds as opposed to 8, 9, 10 minutes in the view that actually occurred correctly. And trained professionals there's no violation of critical makes sense for Idaho, and really, again, here's just a way of saying, we're not putting user environment or active with the shield circuit and the choice of the Thanks, Ricky. Good to see you. Yes, Steve Dominich, good to see you, sir. Happy 4th of July. In May, who knows if we'll be friendly fire during the Octave of Independence, but if not,
course, I'm always found at the most popular venues.